Hello everyone and welcome to this webinar. My name is Isabel Rove and I'm the Education Community Manager here at ACCA. Our session today is designed to support your preparation for the Advanced Performance Management Exam, or APM. And I'm really pleased to be joined by expert tutor Steve Willis.
Hello Isabel, and hello delegates. My name is Steve Willis and I am honored to be here. I'm happy to be here with you. And give me one moment, I accidentally expanded the window too big. There it is. Guys, my name is Steve. I'm a tutor. I'm an ACCA member. I'm coming to you live from the PwC office where I teach here in the Czech Republic. Thank you for joining us. I've been doing this job for a while. I've been teaching people like you around the world, helping you pass the difficult ACCA exams. I want to take a minute and say congratulations as well. You've made it to the strategic professional level. You're in the options. The light is at the end of the tunnel. In these turbulent times, with the way things change so fast nowadays in the business world, who knows what our jobs as accountants, as business professionals will look like in 10 years. But as a member of ACCA, one of the best, widely known, globally known, highly respected professional qualifications, you can be sure wherever you are in your career, you have the badge of the highest quality. So stick with it. I'm sure you can pass APM with some more hard work. Guys, we're here today. As I mentioned, as you know, you've got this difficult exam coming at you. APM. I want to help you get a pass. I want to show you how to earn marks in this difficult exam. Guys, I'm going to demonstrate exam technique. I'm going to show you examples of student work. I want to leave you with the impression of what a well-constructed APM answer looks like. I want to show you how to do that. I also want to answer your questions, guys. That's what we're going to do. And now I have a question for you. Are any of you out there resitting? Let me know if you're resitting. Unfortunately, I remember vividly, I got stuck at financial reporting when I was doing my exams some years ago. I think I had to do it 3 times. Maybe it was even 4, I don't remember. But if you are resitting, I feel your pain. And it happens. Okay, so everybody, please click on that answer. Let me know if you are resitting, yes or no. Okay, I'll give you another moment to make your decision. Make your choice. All right. Wow, most of you are resitting. That's good to know. So if you are resitting, I know you're stressed. I know you've got a lot at stake. You've been spending money on exam fees. What I want you to do, pay close attention to what we talk about. I'd like you to make a list. Think about what you want to change. Something has not worked. So when I'm showing you exam technique, think about what it is that you're going to do differently next time, because something needs to change in your approach. Now, those of you who are not resitting, do the same. Work hard, listen closely, take good notes, and hopefully you'll get a first-time pass on APM. Now, I have a question for you. What is it about APM that is so difficult? As you know, it has the lowest pass rates, or just about the lowest pass rates in the in all the exams. It also has the unfortunate characteristic of people getting stuck. I've met people that get stuck here, resitting multiple times, okay? But I want you to stay cool. I've also helped many people, and people who have been chronic resitters, they failed multiple times, 7, 8, they did get a pass. Okay, so you can do it. Find the attendee chat, please. Let me know your thoughts. Guys, find the attendee chats. Tell me why APM is challenging. Time management, one of you wrote. Absolutely. You've got 3 hours, 15 minutes. You've got to read very dense scenarios. You've got to think about your answer, structure it, and then write it up. That's a lot of work. Guys, the professional marks. This is new. You got to make sure you earn the professional marks. The second one of you mentioned the time. I agree with you. Time pressure, critical. Okay? Time management, why it's so challenging. You guys are giving some great tips there. Avoid generic answers. Struggling to make your point. You do need a sense of business knowledge for this. Identifying what the examiner really wants. You guys, we are on the same page. If I can boil down why I think APM is so difficult, first of all, I think people misunderstand this exam. Many candidates, they're used to academic exams. They come into APM and they're ready to recite all of the technical knowledge that they learned. They see the word building block model, and so 80% of the time they're describing the model, not using it. Remember, it is a business simulation. It's not an academic exam. It's a professional exam. So think of it as a business task. You're helping someone solve a business problem. Now, this is another reason it's difficult. The notes that I am teaching from this week, guys, it's about 105 pages of notes. FM, PM, they had bigger books. So the theory is only 20 to 30% of passing. The notes don't tell you what you need to do with the theory. Okay? You've got to use the theory as your toolbox to build an answer. So you can look at the notes and you can be lulled into a false sense of security. That's all I need to do. Guys, the requirements can be very challenging. You've got the verbs assess, evaluate, okay? Critically assess. That's not explain and describe. So it takes time. You have to learn how to develop your answers and show judgment. Okay, when you are evaluating and assessing and advising. And lastly, a lot of the topics overlap. You guys know that from SBL. I teach SBL also, and on the one hand, that's nice. It means there's less technical knowledge to absorb. However, SBL is about business analysis, understanding business strategy, very broad, looking at project management, okay? APM, different kettle of fish. APM is performance management, helping the company reach their objectives. So you've got to change your approach from SBL. And I would also like to add to this list, time management is another reason. And you guys told me that as well, okay? Time pressured exam. Now, so we know it's difficult. I know some of you are resitting. Let's get to business and let's talk about earning marks. Guys, in order to earn any marks, or in order to earn passing marks, you got to get in the right mindset for this paper. Okay? And I change your mindset right after our webinar. Take the tone of a consultant. You are there to help the owner of this business, the CEO, the FD, the board of directors solve their problems. That is what you are doing. You are not just a student in academia reciting the knowledge that you read in the textbook. Okay? So to be a consultant, you have to take what you've read and apply it to the business problem. Well, how do you do this? Ask yourself, does your answer help the company? Will the CEO make better decisions with your answer? This is helpful. When I work with resitters, this advice helps. Think of the exam as an assessment center hiring process. You've made the short list at a world-class consulting company. Only 3 out of 10 of the candidates will get the job. Will they hire you based on your answer? Are you proud of your answer? Are you impressing the marker with nice structure, linking to the scenario, easy to read, okay? Are you laying out your answers? Is your spreadsheet neatly composed? Now, you need to get into this mindset because you need to assess and evaluate. You need to show judgment, okay? When you are assessing something, you need to take a stand. Something good is something bad. You need to say why. You need to link to the story, okay? And you do this when you are in the right mindset. Now, guys, some of you might be putting questions into the attendee chat. If you have specific questions, make sure you're putting that in the Q&A box. Guys, so the first step to earning your marks is to get in the right mindset. Pretend you are a consultant. Now, this is new. The professional marks have changed in APM. Let me tell you a little bit about that now, okay? So, first of all, it's easy to get overly concerned with this and obsess about it. Don't obsess about the professional marks, okay? If you do a good job answering the question that is asked, if you develop your answer, if you frame your answer in the context of the story, if you find the embedded requirements, if you do what you are asked to do, the professional marks are going to start happening, okay? You're going to earn the professional marks as you craft your answers. So make sure you're producing answers that you would be proud of. Again, are you impressing the marker? Are they going to hire you? The company, okay? Now, I've had questions already emailed to me. Steve, does this mean now we need we need perfect grammar and perfect spelling? No. Spelling and grammar still do not earn marks. If the marking team understands the point that you are making, you still get the credit. So don't panic. It's not about grammar and spelling. Okay? Now, professional marks are applied to the question as a whole, not to the requirement. So it's not like SBL, where each little requirement got some different professional marks there. So the professional marks are holistic. The marking team will go through your answer, giving you the technical marks, and then afterwards going back through and assessing your answer against the criteria of the professional marks and adding the marks then. So it's a holistic process and approach. It happens at the end. Now, in APM, you've got to think about 4 professional skills. Let me tell you about those now, and there's a lot more information on ACCA's site that you can find to learn more. First professional skill that's going to be awarded in question 1, you guys, is communication. Okay? Now, easiest mark to get in the whole exam is to make the report look like a report. You're going to get a mark for that. Give your report a header, introduction, a nice structure. If you're resitting, you used to get the 3 or 4 marks for this. Now you get the 1 mark for that, making the report look like a report. Okay, make sure you separate your calculations. Do your calculations in the spreadsheet. Don't treat the spreadsheet like a throwaway scratch pad to scribble down some notes. Label your workings, label your currency, label your precision if you're working in millions or thousands. Give clear headings, state your assumptions, okay? So the professional marks for communication can be earned with a well-prepared spreadsheet, okay? Make sure your answer has a clear structure. Only hit relevant points. Don't start drifting off into academic definitions of models. Answer the question that is asked. And you do that by following the instructions precisely, finding the embedded requirements. Guys, for me, the embedded requirements are the key to unlocking this exam. When you find those, when you understand how that works, it's a lot easier. Yeah, I see some of you guys in the chat window talking about getting a 49. I really feel your pain there. That's difficult when you get the 49. That's really demoralizing, isn't it? Sorry that happened. Let's find you 1 more mark. So, the second professional skill that you need to learn that you need to demonstrate, guys, this is skepticism. Professional skepticism, taking a challenging view, questioning approach. How will you get skepticism marks? Well, first thing you can do, look in the question, and if you find statements from managers, very often in the question, manager XYZ said, yeah, quality is dropping, but our customer doesn't care about quality, so it's not important to us. Well, you can challenge these statements. That's one way to get some skepticism marks, okay? If you see any contradictions, highlight those. Now, when you are asked to use a model, don't be afraid to mention the limitations of the model, right? You can always use the linking word, however. However, this model is only looking at the external environment, and it might be helpful also to look at our processes and our company structure if we're trying to improve performance, okay? And if you make a challenge, really make sure that it's justified. You can't just make an unsupported assertion. You can't just say, I don't agree with that manager statement. You need to say, because, okay? That's skepticism. Analysis and evaluation. That is going to be in every question. You're going to find this one, okay? And when we analyze the points that we make, you got to be linking your analysis to the story. If you are evaluating a performance report, make sure all of your pros and your cons are linked to that specific report. Don't just give out the memorized list that's in your textbook, okay? So you got to link your analysis to the story. Give a conclusion, okay? When you analyze and evaluate, wrap it up with a succinct conclusion. Guys, can you hear Isabel? Can you still hear me okay? Okay, wonderful.
Hi, Steve. Yep, I can hear you okay.
Okay. I think some of you might be muted. Okay? I'll give you guys a second to fix that. Great, sort it out. Awesome. Now, also, make sure when you're analyzing and evaluating, you use all of the exhibits, use all of the data that you can. Okay, don't just stick to one of the exhibits. If you've got financial and non-financial, make sure you use that. And of course, use a balanced approach. Show both sides of an argument, the pros, the cons. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that you're stuck with a borderline fail, Luigi. Okay, guys, that's the third professional skill. The fourth one, guys, commercial or business acumen. So first of all, anything that you suggest, make sure that it's practical, that it fits the story, that it's linked to this industry. So don't just give generic examples. If we are talking about a not-for-profit organization, make sure your advice and your discussion is linked to that type of an organization. And again, evidence from the scenario. When you make your points, use evidence from the scenario and link your idea to the industry. If you're talking about a hotel, make sure your answer is relevant to the hotel industry or restaurants. Okay? And make sure that you demonstrate an understanding of what works and doesn't work, okay, in the context of this particular business. So there you go. That's commercial acumen. Those are the 4 professional skills that you need to develop. Now, we could talk more about that, but I recommend you check out the exam resources. There are new videos out published by ACCA, by the examining team, that go into it in more detail. So that's a great follow-on activity. Check out the ACCA resources on APM professional skills. Now, you're going to earn marks by getting the professional marks, being in the right mindset and demonstrating those skills. Make sure before you go into that exam hall, you have mastered the platform. Okay, and you can find the past exams, the mock exam, the specimen exam, all of that is in the practice platform. Okay, now if you're new to APM, you have response options. You've got 2 of them. In SBL, you had more. You also had presentation. In APM, you get 2. Word processor, spreadsheet. Professional marks are earned in both, as I said. So give both of those documents your love. If you'd like to learn about spreadsheet skills, I suggest you attempt the mock exam. There's a mock exam provided by ACCA. You can find the link, try the mock exam, and I take you through 2 spreadsheet examples demonstrating spreadsheet exam technique, how to structure your spreadsheet, how to label, what you need to do to get the marks. So make sure you check that out. You got your response options. Most of the action is going to happen in the word processor, however. Now, you've got a lot of exhibits. Guys, you've got to practice working with these exhibits before the exam. And you've got to practice reading for gist. How do you pick out important information as well from these exhibits? So important you practice that. And I recommend you park your response options on the right side of the page, and the spreadsheet would be over there normally on the right, and you keep your exhibits parked on the left. And as you read those exhibits, you're highlighting, you're taking notes. I like to use a mind map approach when I'm in those exhibits. So I'm finding the important information, and I'm just on my scratch paper making a mind map. Company profile, boom, 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 taking notes. If you're in the home invigilation exams, then you need to use the highlighter because they won't let you use scratch paper. And very important that you practice with the requirements. You find the requirements exhibit and you copy paste those in to give your answer a structure. Just as I've done here. I've copy pasted the requirements right in. And in this question, we have two requirements. Introduction of just-in-time, cost of quality. Notice now that you get 20 marks. This is a section B question, so it's 20 marks for technical marks, 5 marks for professional marks. So I recommend you change your approach to time management. It's no longer 1.8 minutes per mark. I would say 2.25 minutes per mark, because you're going to write up fewer ideas. So you will consider your ideas a bit more. You'll develop them. You'll be developing them well so you can earn the professional marks in conjunction with the technical marks. Right? So change your thinking to 2.25 minutes per mark. Now, I think you're going to be writing about the same. You're going to be writing about, I see a comment in the attendee chat. It's not that you're writing more, you're still spending 3 hours, 15 minutes. You are developing fewer ideas. So you have fewer ideas to develop. You're just putting a little bit more love into each idea. So that's the thinking. Now, you earn marks by being in the right mindset. You earn marks by mastering the platform. You earn marks by crafting, by constructing your answer effectively. Effectively means managing your time, hitting the idea, and doing that with the, not overdoing it with the writing, with the minimum number of words that you need to develop that idea in the context of the story. And you do that, guys, with your time management, with the requirement, and you must find the embedded requirements. That is how you answer the question that is asked. That is how you earn the communication marks. That is how you'll be earning analysis marks when you're doing exactly what the guy says, what the CEO says. So here is an extract from one of the exhibits. Planning, yes, that's absolutely true. It's important that you plan your answer very carefully. I'm going to show you 2 students' examples in a moment, and you're going to see what not to do and what to do. So look at this. Guys, take a moment. Please read that. Eric would like to move to just-in-time purchasing its goods to a just-in-time system of purchasing its goods from Kursk. And as a result, they're contemplating major changes. The CEO has asked you as a management consultant, not as a student, as a management consultant. Business role play, get in the right mindset to assess what changes they will have to make. Assessment is not identification. It's not just discuss them. So in order to assess changes, first identify them and then assess them. Are the changes big? Are they small? What's the impact of the change? Okay, that is how we make an assessment. Guys, there's questions coming through in the attendee chat about more information on the professional marks. As I mentioned, there are videos out there. There's a great article, and you can check out the Read the Mind of the Marker article after this webinar, and your questions will be answered, okay? So I don't have time to do more on professional skills. I've done an introduction to that. Go back in, and you can spend more time there. I would say 2.25 minutes per mark. 2.25, not 1.5. Yeah. Now, I digress. Read very carefully. You assess purchasing and production. Not one thing, but two things. Structure your answer with two headings. That's how you're going to be earning marks. It's going to help you develop your ideas as well. Now, as I mentioned, let's now look at two students' approaches to answering the questions. I've got the attendee chat open. I'm going to ask you questions. I'd like your opinion before I give you my opinion. This student has to come up with 13 marks, 13 technical marks. We've got to assess changes around purchasing and production to move to JIT, to just in time. Check out student one. Stand by for a second. Stand by for 1 second, team. Okay, guys, have a look at this answer. This is from a student, and take a read. Corsic must choose suppliers who are reliable and produce on demand, so maybe they should choose just one supplier to work with. So the impact of moving to JIT is reducing the number of suppliers. The student goes on to say, the supplier who dispatches, who ships in full load quantities, that's directly from the story, you guys, may need to be discarded, as Corsic does not want to have high inventory because the dresses could become obsolete. Okay? I like your thoughts there. Guys, I wanted to see some structure. I would have liked to see headings and subheadings. Thank you, Salmina. Exactly. Okay, I don't like the segmenting. However, guys, the marking team was generous. The marking team said that first sentence was enough to earn a mark on the impact of purchasing. that the company will need to choose fewer suppliers. A technical mark was earned. I agree with you all. I agree with you, Shaheen. The structure could have been written better. And a second mark was earned for follow-on, development of the idea, linking to the story. So, team, even if you don't do a perfect job, if you link your answer to the story and the marking team understands the point you're making, you can earn marks. So that paragraph earned 2 marks, guys. Moving on. This next sentence, have a read, guys. Quality should be the agenda as priority. Okay, so priority should be the agenda for Cusack as they have one customer and they have no time to produce faulty products. So the impact of faulty products is big. They have one customer, so the risk is high of losing that customer. What do you think? You like that? Is that worth a mark? Quality control is a good point. Increasing quality. I understand the point the student is making. The marking team was generous and gave that sentence a mark. Okay? It's vague, but they did make the point about quality. Okay? Quality needs to become important. And this answer is well linked to the story, you guys. It is linked to the story because at this point, it is not their agenda. At this point, it's not. Look at this next sentence. JIT offers short production runs where employees can spot the mistakes instantly and then correct them to minimize waste. So the marking team was generous there and found and said that that was linked to the impact on production. I personally think that it's a little bit generic. I would have liked that linked to the story personally. Okay? Finally, the student makes a point. The company should perhaps market its own products. Do you like that one? You guys like that? Is that worth a mark, team? What do you think? That's some random advice about marketing its own products, okay? Marketing team said that's 0. That is completely irrelevant. Team, that is the entire answer for part A. How many marks were they trying to get? Guys, how many marks was the student trying to get? 13. Does that look like 13 marks to you? I am disappointed with this answer. 1, I don't think this student was in the right mindset. 2, I don't think they planned their answer before they wrote. If you're going for 13 marks, I recommend you cut the number of marks in half, round up a bit, 7, and then add a little bit more, 8 or 9. I would like to see 9 clear points in the answer. This answer is not structured well. Okay? There are some ideas that were developed. Okay? So some marks were earned. but this is a solid fail. This is not a borderline fail. This is a solid fail. Okay? Now, professional marks were earned. I want you to remember, the professional marks are not all or nothing. The professional marks will be earned. The marking team will evaluate your answer against criteria. If you do a good job, you get more professional marks. If you do a poor job, you get fewer marks. If you do like a terrible job, no marks. Okay? I agree with you, Salmina. This does not look like passing effort. Holly makes a good point. You try to give the same amount of points as there are marks. That's a good approach, but sometimes you just can't come up with that many ideas. One of you guys said it's hard to generate that many ideas. So what I like to do, if I'm going for 13 marks, I list out my ideas first. And then when I get to 8 or 9, I stop listing out the ideas, Holly, and I start writing up what I have. If I have more time, I'll do more. Now, look at this. Analysis and evaluation marks were earned. Okay? It was a limited, underdeveloped response. So they didn't get maximum. They got 1 mark there for analysis and evaluation. And one mark for commercial acumen. Okay? Because they were supporting the ideas a little bit. Rohit, you can absolutely earn marks with fewer words. It's about the quality, not about the quantity. I want to point out, though, in this question, the 2 managers made comments. And there was an opportunity, okay, to counter the arguments that those managers made. So the views of the managers were ignored here. You would develop skepticism here. You would say, the manager says quality is not important. However, you use the word however, we see blah, blah, blah. So the company must focus on quality if they want to keep their main customer in a market with increasing competitive rivalry. Manessa, cover your bases. If you are evaluating or assessing a conclusion, a quick conclusion is always a good thing to do, okay? We see in the model answers, we often see the conclusions there. I don't know how you can evaluate something and not really arrive at a conclusion. So please give quick conclusions. Guys, let's look at student A overall. Not in the right mindset. These are my observations. And guys, the biggest mistake right there, not enough material to get a pass. 13 marks, 4 paragraphs, come on, not even trying. Lacking the structure. We saw 2 specific items, purchasing and production. Structure your answer. We saw that the ideas were not well developed. Ideas could have been developed further, okay, for more marks. That second 1-sentence paragraph didn't really, many of you were confused about that one. I thought that was a generous mark as well. And professional marks were mostly missed. Student A got a fail. Let's now look at student B's work. Let's look at a couple of paragraphs from student B. Okay? First of all, that's a big picture look. Do you guys like that? Do you guys like that structure? What do you think? Let me come to a quick comment, though, in the attendee chat. One of you guys said, wouldn't I be deviating from the scenario if I go for skepticism? No. You make a point, and then you could say, the manager didn't see this, but I think it's important, right? The manager didn't think it was important, but I think it's important. Something like that, okay? I like the structure, you guys. It's very clear. I would like to see even more structure. I would like to see subheadings for each idea. I would like to see signposting, okay? The ideas are well segmented. I see lots of little paragraphs. Guys, that's what a passing answer looks like. Let's take apart the answer a little bit. We've got a clear structure, answering the question as asked. That's going to help me generate ideas. Instead of thinking about JIT by itself, first I think about purchasing, then I think about production, focusing my ideas and my points. Purchasing. Korusk may need to reduce its suppliers to better develop relations and work with the ones that can be relied upon to meet the high-quality material demands. You guys like that? I think that's answering the question. That's the impact of moving to JIT, reducing suppliers. And the high-quality material demands, that's there. I think that's all right, you guys. I don't think that's too many. We could simplify that. Guys? Yeah, there's a little bit of verbosity there. It doesn't matter if you say may need to, should, will need to. The mark doesn't come from the verb tense. The mark comes from the ideas. You don't need so as to better. You could just say to better develop. Okay, but I think it's okay. I like that, you guys. That's a well-developed technical idea. Now, look at this. It should be considered. I like to avoid the passive tense. It should be considered. I would say Korsuk should consider. It's easier to write in the active voice than the passive voice, okay? Minor stylistic point. That doesn't change the marks. It just makes you can write faster in active voice. The company should consider if the remaining suppliers provide this need, and Korsuk should work closely with them to improve quality and reduce lead time. This is important because the materials need to come at the right amount, at the right quantity. Otherwise, they're going to have delays in meeting the orders. Supplier agreements need to be detailed, including SLAs, and reviewed regularly. That's nice, guys. There's some nice business acumen happening there, isn't there? You guys linking to the story, linking to the industry, showing some knowledge, adding value. That's impressing the marker. That's helping the board of directors make their decision. Guys, there's 2 marks there, and there's a lot of evidence to help the marking team give professional marks as well. Okay? So that's a well-developed answer that's going to trigger professional marks. Now, moving on, production. They need to consider flexibility with regard to lead times, as they will need to speed up to prevent stock outages with their client on highly popular items. I completely understand that point. Okay, lead times need to be more flexible and faster. So if they need goods, the suppliers can give it to them. Great, Mark. Good idea. That's the impact of moving to JIT on production. Now look at this. This one's great. This is well linked to the story about making clothing. Small production runs will often be required, right? The production runs are going to get smaller under JIT with a mix of dresses to meet the demand that is changing. Guys, that's linked directly to the story. That's the impact, moving to smaller production runs. And now we're developing the impact more. This might reduce the efficiency of production, right? More setups, and they might have to assess alternative measures to see if they're, to evaluate their efficiency against the budget. Guys, that's a well-developed idea with follow-on marks. That's good exam writing. And a change in how bonuses are awarded will need to be made as the number of dresses per period will vary. In the scenario, the bonus is on the number of dresses they make. So now that's going to have to change. A better measure may be production time, not the number of dresses, okay, but the time per unit, and the defects, the quality of the output. Well considered idea. There were actually 2 marks there. That second sentence also earned a mark. There's even another mark there. So guys, this is a student who's looking at it from a broad perspective, looking at it as a consultant. You see a problem, you sprinkle in what would be a little bit better. You see a problem, you see a reason, something that's going to have to change, and add a little bit more. What's the impact of the change, right? The impact of the change is well developed. So we got 5, not 4, 5 technical marks here. And again, it's not about the number of words, right? There's not that many words there. So this is a student writing efficiently. Yeah, I don't see skepticism either. Salmina, I don't see skepticism either. And guys, the marking team didn't see skepticism, but the evaluation and the analysis was done very well. Commercial acumen, done nicely. Good use of details from the scenario. Developing the ideas in the context of this company. Now, it's not the matter if you miss out on a little professional mark here or there. Guys, that's not going to make the difference between passing and failing. Don't obsess about the professional marks. To summarize, student B, I felt student B was in the right mindset, guys. This student looked like they were answering from a consultant's point of view. The structure was clear. They made more points. One of you guys said something stating the obvious. I got to write that down. I want to come back to that, stating the obvious, okay? I'm coming back to that in a minute, okay? Structure was better. More points were made. Guys, ideas were well developed. Check out this tool for developing an idea. If you are assessing impact of something, You identify the impact. That's what it is. Okay? The company will need to work with fewer suppliers. Then you say to yourself, so what? That forces you to develop the idea a little bit better. Why is it important? So what, so what? What, so what? That's a technique for forcing you to develop your answer a bit more. Okay? Good linking to the scenario. And by answering the question that was asked, let me go back to that requirement. Assessing the changes, right? Assess the changes. Are they big? Are they small? What's the impact? That was done well. If you answer the question that is asked, linking to the story, showing a big picture view, the professional marks get earned as you answer as you craft your answer. Some people, I think, I've heard this, the professional marks are not like baking a cake. When you bake a cake, first, you make the batter and you make the beautiful cake in the oven. When the cake is all done, at the end, you put on the icing. So you could cover up a bad cake with good icing, right? Not with the professional marks. The professional marks are earned as you create your answer. That is why there are fewer technical marks. So instead of it being 25 marks for the technical, it's 20 marks. So you make your 20 points and you develop your answers well to earn the professional marks. Student B was on track to get a very comfortable pass. Now, I want to say this. I took my examples directly from a really cool resource. Read the Mind of the APM Marker. Okay? That's right. You just said it. The professional marks are in the cake, not in the icing. They're in the cake. Thank you. That's what I meant. Okay. Read the Mind of the APM Marker. You are curious about more professional marks. I just took one part of one requirement. I showed you guys 13 marks. I highly recommend block out an hour or two this weekend. Download that article, check it out, read it carefully, take notes. What is the bad guy doing wrong? What is the good one doing correctly? How does your work compare to those examples? Okay? Isabel, maybe you could even pop that link right into the attendee chat if that's possible. Students can hit that link and bookmark it right now. And if you don't do that, you can also find it in the resources. Okay? But that's a must-do, follow-on activity to our webinar. Student B, doing great. Guys, to summarize what you can do to earn marks. Hold that question. Ask me that question, how you get marks per point, okay? Ask me that question in a minute. How to earn marks. Got to get in the right mindset. You're a consultant in a job assessment, in a job simulation. You got to help the CEO run their business. If you're in the right mindset, your answer will flow. If you're a student that just read the notes and you're trying to give the notes back, you're going to get a solid fail, okay? Guys, Next thing you got to do, find the embedded requirement. Okay? The embedded requirements are hidden in the exhibits. The first exhibit is usually company information. The next exhibits usually have the embedded requirements there at the end. Okay? So you've got to find the embedded requirements. Now, structure your answer before you write. If we are assessing the changes in purchasing and production of moving to JIT, purchasing, production, then I recommend you think about all of the changes. We'll need fewer suppliers. We'll need faster lead times. We need to ensure quality at the beginning. We need to ensure our suppliers' goods are quality checked. We need more flexibility in production, etc. Lay out your ideas. Then you go back and you develop the ideas. Don't freestyle. Don't do it stream of consciousness writing. Now you got to generate enough marks to get a pass. We saw the person, student A, only had 4 or 5 ideas. You're not going to get 7 marks with 4 little paragraphs. Okay? 13 marks, you got to develop a minimum of 7 to get over halfway. But you don't know if the marking team's going to agree with every one of your ideas. So I say put in a little buffer. Go for 8 or 9 to be safe. Okay? Don't just go for the bare minimum. In a perfect world, yeah, you'd go for 13. I couldn't come up with 13 ideas. I can come up with 9. I'm going to have a hard time coming up with 13 in 20 minutes. Now, here is where you don't get the mark from the point itself. You get the mark by turning the point into an idea. So you need to write with complete sentences. Okay, that's important. You develop your ideas with linking words and linking expressions. For example is a wonderful thing you can say. You make your point and then you say, for example. It forces you to develop it further from the story. You can say also, another nice linking word that shows idea development. You can show however, okay? Use the word however, okay? One of the main reasons people fail, you guys, listen up, everybody listen up. One of the main reasons people fail is what I call an unsupported assertion, okay? An unsupported assertion. This is when you make judgment, but you don't support it with evidence, okay? And one of you guys said, I don't want to state the obvious. No, it's important to state the obvious. Okay? You make your points, and then you need to justify it. For example, if you're doing an EVA question, and EVA is negative, you can't just say, this means shareholder wealth is eroding. You've got to develop it a little bit more. Say what that actually means. You've got to say, yes, the company is profitable, but in terms of economic profits, they're not exceeding the minimum requirement of the capital providers, okay? Make sure you develop those. Guys, the 2.25 minutes, right, is also for the reading. So when you get down to answering your question, of course, you've got to scale that down a little bit. You got to scale it down to 1.6 minutes for the final write-up of your answer. So it's critical you turn your points into developed ideas, and everything you do should be linked to the story, okay? Try to look at the situation from multiple perspectives. That's how you earn the follow-on marks. Did you see student 2 had some really wonderful follow-on marks? The impact is of switching suppliers. They're also going to need new SLAs. That's a really great idea. That's worth a mark. That's a follow-on mark from that first idea that they made, guys. So look at the situation from a big picture view. Think like a consultant. And again, pay attention to the professional marks and the time management. We've already talked about all of that. Time management, use your time management rule. Professional marks, know what to do for skepticism, for evaluation, okay, for business acumen. Guys, I've shared with you my thoughts about what to do to earn marks. I want you guys to check out Read the Mind of the Marker. Okay, and there are more resources. If you haven't seen my YouTube channel, I'm going to be putting up next week and the week after, I'm going to be putting up new videos. I'm making them now. I'm in the middle of teaching APM. So I'm going to make new videos so you can subscribe to my channel. All you got to do is search Steve Willis, ACCA, and YouTube. I pop up, okay? At this point, I would like to answer your questions, team. So I'm going to open up the Q&A window now. Hi, Isabel.
Hi, Steve. Thank you for that session. I was just going to say we've got plenty of really good questions.
Okay, excellent.
In the inbox for you.
All right, right off the bat, I recommend you read all of the exhibits. The question is this: are we supposed to read all the exhibits and then start answering? Or should we only do one exhibit, one requirement? I recommend you read all of the exhibits before you start answering. As you go through the exhibits, you start parking the embedded requirements into your word processor. But please, check out all of the exhibits because it's going to give you a broader sense of the company, and then you'll be able to answer from multiple perspectives. You might learn about something really interesting or something important in the last exhibit. Okay, so you got to read all of the exhibits first. How many marks? Here someone asks, how many marks per point? I don't like this word point. Some people misunderstand point as like bullet point. I tell my students, and my students are often quite successful, you get a mark for an idea, not a point. You get a mark for an idea, okay? A developed idea. So one developed idea can get 1 to 2 marks. If your idea is developed really well, you can get what's called a follow-on mark. So an idea can earn 1 to 2 marks depending on how well developed it is. Now, that same idea can then also show evidence of a professional skill. So the marking team, when they're done, they go back through, yes, that was a great idea, but wow, it's really well developed, and it's also challenging the view of that director. So boom, you got some skepticism as well. So by developing your answers well, you're going to get up to 2 points, plus you're giving the marking team what they need to award professional marks. Here's a question. What if we don't have an idea of the topic? I think you mean like we don't know what they want from us. I don't understand what ideas to generate here. Guys, I recommend if you get stuck, it's going to happen to you. It happens to me. When I'm preparing to teach a question, I get stuck. I'm not sure exactly what exactly they always want. Number one, don't panic. Go do something easier. And when you're doing your questions, always do the requirements in the order of easiness. Do the easy things first. So if you're going to run out of time on something that's difficult. Now, when you get to a requirement that you don't really know what to do, what I find that helps, just close your eyes. Imagine you work at that company. Just imagine you work there. And then I want you to answer it from a 100% practical perspective. For example, I was doing one question with my students, and it said, assess the impact on purchasing and something else of moving to activity-based costing. Or now, that's kind of weird, but what you got to do, right? You got to think you work there. Oh, wow. Right now, I'm using simple absorption costing in standalone departmental spreadsheets. I need more information about the drivers. That's not financial information. So switching to activity-based costing, it's going to be difficult. Where am I going to get this information about the number of forklift moves or about the number of inspections? That's going to be difficult. I'm going to need a new IT system because there's going to be a lot more math. The standalone spreadsheet, might have errors. So I think we should get a new ERP system with a module. So that's what I do if I don't know how to answer the question. Close my eyes, skip the theory, and be practical. Pretend you work there. Simple, practical ideas. This is a super idea from Katrin. All right. Guys, if you are at a marginal fail, this is good advice, a good question from Katrin. Katrin gets stuck in the numbers and calculations and loses time. So he doesn't get to the write-up. You need to assess performance. If you're assessing the performance, you've got to first evaluate performance with the KPIs. If you are having trouble with the calculations, stop what you're doing and make an assumed answer. And then you evaluate based on your assumed answer. You'll get full credit on your write-up, okay? So that's a great idea. If your calculation is wrong or if it's assumed, you wouldn't get the calculation mark, but if you then interpreted that figure and you used it in your evaluation, you're going to get credit there, okay? So don't get lost in a calculation. Do an assumed number, keep it moving. For example, if you're doing a difficult EVA question, there's one working you don't know how to do. A lot of people, they get obsessed on that one working. Oh my goodness, what's the adjustment to the opening retained earnings? Oh, should I have amortized that prior year development cost? Did they start selling the Stop what you're doing, put a number there, put assumed and keep it moving. If you get bogged down like that, you're burning valuable time. It's fine to write in the first person. Don't get bogged down trying to keep the whole thing in passive voice. The model answers are written in passive voice, okay? You can write in active voice. If you put some first person in there, it's fine. I think we should. I think we should. That's not a problem, okay? Here's a question. Is it okay to use words like perhaps, maybe, and probably in your report? I think it's fine to do that. And it's also, it's a normal thing to say because we don't know the entire situation. So it's probably going to help, right? Maybe when you're giving, I would use the word maybe when you are developing perhaps. Let me think about that. The company needs to improve their use of information. They should get a new system, maybe an ERP. Maybe that's where you could potentially use that word. But it's okay to use probably, perhaps. Not a problem when you're making a suggestion. How many embedded requirements are there? Here's a question from Jan. How many embedded requirements are there? They're in all the questions, guys. You will find embedded requirements everywhere, okay? So you got to be looking for them in all of the exhibits. There's always going to, there's, the CEO is giving you specific instructions in the exhibits, okay? Find them. Could there be one example somewhere where they didn't do that? Possibly, but just be on the lookout for embedded requirements in every question, okay? Let me scroll all of these right now. I'm scrolling through all of these questions here. Here's an easy one. How long should the answer be depending on the marks? Guys, the length of the answer will be in direct correlation to the number of marks. The more marks, the more ideas. The more ideas, the more writing, the longer the answer. There you go. Guys, here's a question from Maria. Wouldn't copy pasting the requirement affect achieving professional marks for the format of the report? I didn't say this, but this is in. Guys, for more advice on the raw exam technique, I recommend you do the mock exam and check out the debrief videos from the mock exam because I take you through the whole thing. And when you copy paste the requirements in, you got to clean it up a little bit. You take out the number of marks and it becomes the header of the section. Okay? You want to take out the requirements and you want to take out the CEO has asked you, right? So you're going to put in there purchasing, production, impact of JIT. Is that clear? So you got to clean up the requirements. Don't just leave it there. I agree with you. If you just left it there, that's not so professional. So clean up the requirements a little bit. Turn them into report section headings. Here is a question from Julius. What is the difference between assess and evaluate? To me, those words, assess and evaluate, they're somewhat synonymous to me. If I think of an example, assess the impact of the external environment on performance management using some model. Assess the impact. Well, is the impact big or small? Is it positive or negative? That's going to drive my answer. Evaluate the impact. I'm going to do a similar thing, okay? If they ask me to evaluate something, for sure I'm giving a conclusion. But even when they ask me to make an assessment, I'm going to do an overall. So to me, they're quite synonymous. Assessing performance, evaluating performance. I wouldn't get hung up on, excuse me. I think that often those words are chosen because of the writing style, stylistically. If you say, evaluate this, and evaluate this, kind of sounds funny, right? Assess this and evaluate this. I think you could even look at a model answer. If I showed you two model answers, one was an evaluation of something, one was an assessment, I think they would look pretty similar. And we also see, right, evaluate the performance report. That's a standard requirement. And the evaluation is really also, right, assess it. What are the pros? What are the cons? Here's a question about planning. Danielle writes this. Our tutor told us to delete our plan off of the main spreadsheet. Is this right, or is it worth keeping it and ensuring it's clear what's the plan and what's the answer? To me, this sounds more like an SBL thing. Remember, in SBL, you've got 4 hours and you've got those really heavy exhibits. In SBL, you might actually do this really big side answer plan. I don't recommend in APM you do a standalone answer plan like that. What I suggest you do is you turn your answer plan into your answer. Your answer plan starts by finding the requirements. Then you find the embedded requirements. Then you start making a list of your ideas. Bum, 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 bum. And then your answer plan evolves into your answer. I think if you write up a big answer plan and then you rewrite your answer in APM, to me it's a little redundant. And any notes that you take, I would get rid of them. That could affect professional marks because it wouldn't be professional to leave the number of marks or something like that. Okay? Here's another good question. Steve, this is from Athira. It's about copy pasting from the scenario. If I want to refer to the scenario, can I copy and paste it? Or can I rephrase it with my own words? I would suggest rephrasing it, okay? Copy pasting, I know when I'm marking, you guys, when I'm marking mock exams, the students who are copy paste freaks, they don't do that well because they're hung up on copy pasting and not developing the ideas. I would say this, you make your point. The company has to do X, Y, Z. The impact is X, Y, Z. Then you use the linking word because. And you say, because they have one important supplier. Boom, you linked to the scenario. You didn't have to copy and paste. The company has one supplier named da, 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 da. It is totally fine to paraphrase. Okay? Let me take you through some of the key words. Prite asks, take us through some of the important verbs. And now, let me organize my thoughts for a second. You got to think a little bit past the verb. I wish I had a whiteboard right now. I mentioned this before. One of the APM answering skills you need to develop is assessing impact of something on something. a lot of people fail because they describe the impact. Describing the impact is not the same as assessing the impact. When you assess the impact, describing it is just the first thing, right? Identify it. So the bargaining power of the customer is high in the story. The impact is that they will drive down prices because they have high bargaining power. They will be able to negotiate and drive down the prices. This has the potential to hurt profitability, right? That's assessing impact. Is it big? Is it small? Positive, negative. And then in that little example, I would throw in, however, there's also the advantage that the switching costs will be high. So the supplier will have trouble switching. Hi, Isabella. I think we're out of time, aren't we? Yes.
No, thank you so much. Yeah, I do hate to
You're
break
welcome.
things up, but we're running out of time. I do need to bring things to a close, but I hope everyone's found today's webinar really useful. I want to say a really big thank you to you, Steve, for your time, and for the ACCA colleagues in the background who helped answer the questions. Everyone, remember that if you've registered for this webinar, you will be getting an email tomorrow with details on how you can listen to the session again. So yeah, finally, thank you to everyone for your participation. Goodbye.